Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we're going to talk about resilience. I'm going to tell stories about my life back in the Philippines and how me and my family portrayed resilience. And then later on, we're going to dive in and talk about how to become a resilient person. So resilience, or in my language, in the Philippines, we call it katatagan. Resilience is the ability to adapt or overcome adversities in life. What do you do when something goes wrong? Do you fall apart? Do you have a mental breakdown? Or do you just shake it off and move on with your day or move on with your life? So to start this video, I'm going to have like a little story time. So back in the Philippines, I work 9 to 5. I work in this Korean company and we're like English tutor to little Korean kids, but they're in Korea. We call them through phone. So it's like a call center. One day, I rode a different route of jeepney. So the building is located inside the old Clark Air Base. So if you're familiar, if you've been in the Philippines, you've been to Clark, there's like different routes that you need to take you to different side of the Clark Air Base. So I realized that I rode a different jeepney route. So at this point, I got off the jeepney. I don't want to call off work, so I have to sit down and calm myself down and think of ways on how to what should I do? What am I going to do? So I have 3 options. The first option that I gave myself is I would either call my boss and take a day off, or wait for a jeepney to come pass by to take me out of the Clark Air Base again, back to the terminal, and then ride the right route, jeepney route, to take me to our compound or to the building where my company is. The third is when I turn around, I saw a group of workers that are doing lawn services. There's like a group of workers. They're like wearing yellow long sleeve to kind of like, I guess, protect them from the sun. They're preparing to start their day, cutting grass. Some are like putting oil, or not oil, maybe gas for that little grass cutter to move to work. So I was like, okay, the third option is to talk to these people and ask them if they could take me to the building, and I'm going to pay them. So I resort to the third option. I tried it because I don't want to call off work. I don't, I hate missing days at work. Is this safe? No, it's not. You don't want to come approach people and like ask them for a ride or something. So, but I did, and I'm here and I'm safe and I'm fine. So now it's safe to talk about it because it's like several years ago. So I came to them and asked them, hey, kuya, naligaw ako, nagkamali ako ng nasakyan na jeepney. Pwede niyo ba akong ihatid sa company ko? Bibigyan kita 50 pesos. Sabi ko, I told them, hey, I'm gonna give you 50 pesos. Can you ride me? Can you bring me to my company? I see that you guys have a motor, like that single motorcycle. And they looked at each other hesitantly, but one dude was like, heck yeah, 50 pesos? The guy was like, yeah, I can take you for 50 pesos. I was like, yeah, I just need to be there in 8 minutes. So yeah, he took me to the building. I wasn't late, to my surprise, and I was safe. I'm happy, but I'm able to actually find solution, and I was able to get to work on time. I just want to share that story because I feel like every day on our daily life we portray resiliency, but because it's just little, it's just like a itty bitty resiliency, we kind of take it for granted. But just a simple, moving on. If your coffee from Starbucks wasn't the right amount of latte or whatever, you just move on. You don't snap at the Starbucks worker. That's a small amount of resiliency. Those small amounts would add up one day, and next thing you know that you don't snap when more serious things happens. So yeah, looking back at my life in the Philippines, I noticed that me and my family and my friends actually showed a lot of resiliency in our life. And Filipinos are known to be resilient people. I don't know if you guys always hear about hurricanes hitting the Philippine Islands or earthquakes. Especially earthquakes. It happens so much lately that a lot of people in the Philippines thinking that a volcano would erupt because of a lot of earthquakes is happening lately. Filipinos are known to be resilient. They're known to be able to adapt to this natural calamities that are happening. I remember, I don't know if that's back in 1990, I've experienced earthquakes and volcano eruption. What's the name of that volcano? Pinatubo. Mount Pinatubo. I was in the Philippines. I think I was 4 or 5. But it's very, very clear in my mind. We are in my aunt's basement. We would hear this humming sound outside. And I really think we're all gonna die. Because we stayed there. I don't remember if we have food and water, but we stayed there for a little bit. And then when we came out, you can't see 5 feet away because it's all dusty. It's almost like foggy, but it's dust. And people are all covered with dust. The houses are covered with dust. The roads are covered with dust. Everything is just destroyed by the dust. And I remember that. It's very clear. And I was just looking around, dust falling off. And everyone is coughing. Everyone is just like, our eyes are like all squinting because we can't see, and like dust gets in our eyes. That experience alone, it built up a certain amount of resiliency within me at an early age. So yeah, if it's just stories about resiliency, I have a lot of that back home in the Philippines. All right, so let's move on to the second part of this video, how to become more resilient. The first thing that I wrote is develop problem-solving skills. When my son was 2-3 years old, we started buying him these building blocks, wooden blocks that he would play with, and he would build towers and different stuff with. And I realized that those toys that we bought actually were going to contribute to him developing problem-solving skills at an early age. Believe it or not, it starts at around 2-3 years old. And then it's just, from then on, learning and more learning until he's able to adapt to it. And then when he's an adult, then he can probably practice what he learned from his early life. And that's one thing that's important to become a resilient person, is to think of ways on how to overcome adversities or problems in life. So it's okay to kind of like feel bad or like feel sad, because that's part of overcoming the problem. But after that, after allowing yourself to feel the emotions, I think it's very imperative that you actually have to move on and find ways to actually solve the problem that you're currently facing. All right, the second one on how to become resilient is facing your fears. I think I was 5 months pregnant when I go in to get a driver's license test, and I failed. I came in there with my driving instructor. I was so confident. I thought I was gonna nail it. But I was 5 months pregnant, and I guess my nerve just got in the way, and I was so like confused when I was driving, and yeah, I failed. So I was scared to try again, but I have to. I'm fearful to try to take another test. I stopped overthinking it, and I just did it. I was intentional. I try to like take in as much information as I can when I went back to my driving school and my instructor. So stop overthinking, be intentional, and then just do it. Is that what I wrote? Yeah, that's what I wrote. If I stop overthinking about my second driver's license test, I'm being intentional by taking all the information that my driver instructor would teach me. And then the moment I set my driving exam test, I just did it. I relaxed. At this time, I think my son is like 8 months old. Yeah, I nailed the second exam. So how to face your fears, stop overthinking, be intentional about learning it. And then just do it. Nike. Third and the last one on how to become a resilient person is learn self-compassion. This is very important because if the outcome, for example, the second part, the one we're talking about, facing your fear, if the outcome of the action is not agreeable or it's not something that you like, then you need to apply this one, which is learn self-compassion. You have to be compassionate to yourself enough, knowing that, everything happens for a reason. I'll just try harder next time. Like the story that I told you that I failed my first driving exam. I moved on. My husband helped me to move on. I think we went out and ate to kind of like cheer me up a little bit. I gave myself some time, and you know, I did not like beat myself up too much, because you know, sometimes life happens, and that's why you become resilient, because you accept that some things are out of your control. What you can control is how you're gonna deal with it from within. So learning self-compassion is knowing that you still like yourself, even though the outcome is not how you wanted it to be. You have to allow yourself to feel your emotion, instead of kind of like shoving them to the side, and tell yourself that you're okay. You also have to give yourself some time to heal and to move on. I feel like that's the true meaning of resilience, is giving yourself time to heal and to move on. You don't rush yourself to heal, but you actually just let time heal your wounds. And depending on how big the issue or the situation or the adversity that you're facing, it's gonna take a while. With me, for example, I lost my mom back in 2017, and it's still hard for me. There are days that I would wake up and I still feel grief. I feel like grief is always going to be there. But because I've learned self-compassion, I understand and allow myself to feel the emotion, whatever that emotion I would feel that day. Sometimes I feel like crying because she's not here anymore. Sometimes I feel like I'm mad at her because she didn't take care of herself for her to live long enough to be with me and to see that she have a grandchild. So every day it's different feelings. I've learned to have self-compassion towards myself, and let me feel those feelings and allow them to pass, because I feel like emotions comes and they go. So you just feel your emotions, let it pass, and move on. All of those combined hopefully will make us more resilient as we move on to our life journey. I feel like we naturally learn resiliency as we live and gain more and more life experiences and wisdom. And I think the best thing to do with that knowledge is to share it to our younger generations. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!